If 9/11 happened 2 months earlier, what do you think the store 7-Eleven would have done afterwards? Rebranded itself as 247. Same thing DJ Khaled did, his stage name was originally Arab Attack. Electronic artist Kil Paris changed his name to Chill Harris after the terrorist attacks in France. His name was a reference to the character in Romeo and Juliet, not the location. 1. Free Slurpee for everyone who lost a loved one on 7-11 with the purchase of a regularly priced Slurpee. Participating locations only. Limit 1 per customer. Must provide proof of deceased loved one. I live in Australia and we have a 911 bottle shop. I mean, Porsche didn't change the name of its flagship car. Edit. Yes, of course I know that Porsche isn't an American brand. And I also know that they would never bother changing it because there is so much history behind that name. This comment was a joke to draw reference to a brand that actually does use the term 911. We might have called the attack July 11th or 11th of July to not confuse it with the store, so 7-11 wouldn't have had to do anything. The same thing they did on Archer when ISIS came about. Start selling cocaine. Change their name to 911. A similar issue happened in the UK where the infamous celebrity pedophile Jimmy Savile had a show called Jim'll Fix It. An industrious large cement mixing firm had piggybacked off the 80s TV show name and used Jim'll Mix It for their brand. Once the horrific crimes became known, all the cement mixer drivers started to get abused, so they changed their name, to simply Mix It. https://www.constructionnews.co.uk News Contractors News Jim'll Mix It Boss YM Scrapping Company Name 2002-2015. My youth soccer team was called the Bombers. I liked it because I'm a big Yankee fan, and the Yankees are sometimes referred to as the Bronx Bombers, so youngster Arthur Timinator liked to pretend that he was playing for the youth soccer version of the New York Yankees. After 9/11 happened, the league deemed our team inappropriate, and made us change our name. Our coach decided to change our name to the Tigers. The Tigers are a real baseball team. The Tigers suck. I refused to play a game for the Tigers, thus ending my short soccer career. I'd imagine if 9/11 happened on 7/11 instead, corporate would decide to change their name to the Tigers too, and I would continue to not work there even harder than I do now. 7/11 was a part-time job. We'd probably see a post saying if 7/11 happened 2 months later, what do you think the emergency number 911 would have done afterwards? Same thing they do when someone leaves a terror scene in one of their bathrooms, they act like nothing happened. I mean, in the Philippines there is a KKK restaurant chain. Release a Slurpee called Shock and Awe, and give everyone in Baghdad free samples. Freedom 11. Honestly, I bet the attack wouldn't have been labeled as such. 911 would not have been called 711 because there was already the store's name present in their mind whenever they hear the word 711. Instead it would be called something along the lines of Twin Towers attack. Wawa buyout. The conspiracy wouldn't have been Bush did 911, the conspiracy would have been 711 did 711. I don't think that the name would have caught on due to the previous usage. Would probably be more like July 11th attacks. Probably nothing. A few reasons. The name of the store is not 711, but 7-Eleven. The corporation is Japanese-owned, and Japan has more stores than any other country. Japan 20,700 versus us 7,854. Even though the date of September 11, 2001 is remembered as a dark day for most in the US, to the rest of the world it was just another day. The Japanese, as do most countries in the world, write their dates to mo, rather than mot as in the US. In most of the world, 911 is seen as the 9th of November, rather than the 11th of September as in the US. People wouldn't name the attack after the date it happened. They would just say Twin Towers or something like that. This feels like it would make for a better shower thought than an AskReddit. Probably nothing. We still have the Porsche 911 and the emergency number is still 911. Real classy. Let's downplay when radical Muslims flew two commercial airliners into WTC buildings killing thousands of Americans. Hey dude, wanna go to 711? The store or the attack site? Wait, there's a store named 711? #X200B, yeah, I'd, but this conversation would have happened at some point, trust me on it. Prob just try to get the media to refer to the attack by a different name. The name 911 was chosen to put emphasis on the emergency call number. If the event happened during July, most likely the name would have been something closer to the New York attack, Dark July or the Fall of the Towers. Would have lobbied for the US to change to the DME format. 247, new name. Become 812. Probably duck all as the US is a single country and everyone else goes to MIA not MTWI. Well, they might have changed their policy and company name to 247. Just like the ice company ISIS, pronounced ISIS, did. I don't think 711 would have done much, as I suspect the attacks wouldn't have been named after the date. Probably not change. The emergency number is still 911 and the Porsche 911 still exists. I declare bankruptcy Michael Scott. After 911 many 711 wrapped themselves in the American flag because the average American couldn't tell who the bad guys were and some misguided violence was dispensed. If it was YouTube they would copyright claim the event. They would change it to 911. We wouldn't have called it 711 due to everyone knowing those numbers as being the store. And it would sound like an insensitive joke to refer to the event as 711. It would have been called the Twin Tower Attack, or World Trade Center Attack. 711 would have nothing to worry about. Forced Americans to stop writing the date so weirdly? Free Slurpees. As someone who used to work for them, they analyzed this situation tremendously. They were already worried about the correlation between 9/11 and 7/11. They would not have rebranded as it was not determined to have any significant impact on buyers or customer engagement. 7/11 was named 7/11 because that was the general hours they were open, up until the Red River rivalry. A store had so many attendees to that game it made the choice to stay open all night, and started a trend for others to do the same. Rebrand to 911 and be known as the emergency store that is open 247. Pushed to have them referred to as the July attacks or something. Change the store's name to 612 and open at 6 a.m. and close at 12 a.m. Ironically, there used to be an off-brand cheap 711 rip-off by my house a few years back called 612, funny, right? I know a lot of their employees and franchisees are Middle Eastern. I'm sure they would have gone full-blown American idiot and fired everyone that even looked like they were Muslim and replaced with Americans. That's just how stupid our country is right now. They'd rebrand themselves 911. This is a whole post about my birthday and it's weird. It would be fine outside of the US. 911 is 1109 everywhere else in the world. Convert it to our British dates and become 117. If it happened 6 months earlier, would 311 have changed their name? Lol. Love that PPL think they'd change their name. Not a chance in hell. They don't it. I run an ad agency. As callous as this sounds, I'd see this as an amazing opportunity. It would be almost too easy to turn this into big profit for my client. I'd totally shift the store's brand identity to be all about Americana. Flags would be permanently displayed with lots of America Proud merch. Charity promotions every year. All marketing would be about how we're America, showing all the different immigrants that make America great. Yada yada yada. Maybe even update the logo to have an all-American brand ID. In other words, I'd fully embrace the AS Association and run fully into it with everything. Every single ducking time you think about America's worst terrorist attack, you'd also feel like going to get a Slurpee which supports the efforts of helping firefighters. Change the name to 911. 711 never forget cigarettes, lottery tickets and milk. These are the questions that trouble my mind at a late hour.